This is a play about intergenerational trauma and healing, and the mise en scène, like where we are in this play, is in an attic in Aleppo, Syria, in February of 2019, which is when I discovered my great-great-grandfather's Karagöz shadow puppets. My paternal grandfather put a spell on me. My paternal grandfather put a spell on me. I mean, this whole place is about curses and spells. My paternal grandfather, Al-Hassa, he cursed me. He was cursed by genocide. I had no idea. The story I knew was that he cursed me as a child. He was just mean. I mean, no one ever told me this story. Why does no one talk about this? Why are we leaving these stories in an attic? The whole region is the kingdom of silence. My whole life, a culture of silence. In college, I had the great fortune of being taught by Maya Angelou, and she told me, when something is the truth, you must speak it. No matter what, Miss Tatoyan, you must speak it. I needed to speak, I needed to create, to say what hasn't been said about us, Armenians, and what the Turks did to us.
Knocked on the door.
And that's when I met him.
Knocked on the door.
Osman. And I remember seeing a poster in his office, a picture of the slain Armenian Turkish journalist Hrant Dink. And the poster read Hrant's words: the Turk must heal the Armenian must heal the Turk. There is no other prescription. There is no other way.
And look, I think that different people experience this play different ways. I come from a family also of genocide survivors. When you go through that kind of, let's say, transmitted trauma, and when you grow up in Lebanon, where I grew up, you have to realize in Lebanon trauma is not spoken about, it's like reenacted. So from probably around when I was 6 years old, pretty much all Armenian kids used to, on April 24th, get put on white t-shirts, then put red paint, they go outside the Turkish embassy and protest. In the beginning we had no idea what we were protesting. Later on as you grow up, but this kind of generational trauma transmittal is pretty rough stuff. In 2014, as we were approaching the centennial of the Armenian genocide, one of the questions of a couple of, we're together with a couple of quite important friends, but friends, less personal friends, we were wondering what do you do with the centennial of genocide. And of course, people commemorate, people mourn, people demand justice, and all of that is pretty crowded space, because there's a lot of people who do that. And we thought, well, what could we do that's different? And what we decided was that we should flip the script, literally, on not focusing, and I'll connect it to the question you asked, but not focusing on the two main actors in a genocide, which is the perpetrators and the victims, but the two actors that get relatively less attention, but there's many more of them, which is saviors and survivors. I mentioned that Ruben currently sits in jail in Baku, much like Osman Kavala, on trumped-up charges, just like Osman Kavala, and it's really torture for me personally, but others, to see this happen in 2025. But, so the connection to it is in 2020, there was a bit of a war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. I say a bit of one because it didn't have resolution, and then 2023, basically the Armenians living at the time in this enclave got ethnically cleansed, ran away to Armenia, and basically there we were. This is when he was and many other people were arrested. After that, Armenia, in modern Armenia, was basically set back 100 years and was in this traumatic state. We thought, okay, can we hybridize the psychosocial side with a spiritual side?
Feel that they were true. She would say, make we're from Khanpet, or make from Urfa, naming these, ancestral villages and towns in Anatolia. And then I would come back to the States, and I would go to school. I was always been a bit of a nerd, and I would get my history book, I was in public school in Indiana. On the first day of school, I would go to the World War I section, which told me it happened in 1915, and there would be no mention. And I would go, this is something maybe I'm not seeing it. I would turn to the index. It's such a visceral memory for me. And I would go to A, and there's no Armenian. And I remember being 7 years old and going, this book is a lie. like, because it just felt I knew what the truth was experientially.
I think I spent 3 days with him a few weeks before he died in Armenia, so that was a whole other experience. He was he was as Armenian as he was Turkish. He was quite, he wanted me to understand just how much he thought that's a unity. It's not a separate issue. It's quite, maybe that's for another time.
We were able to have the world premiere of this play in San Francisco this past spring, and we had a limited run of 3 weeks. Every night people were coming up with various, needing to share, how. So, we are in a body. It's the body that's present, the body that's here, and when you sit in silence for so long, you start to see the deep interconnection between the mind and the body. What would happen if we all were able to be in this organism and move from that place? A lot of kindness becomes generated out of that. To yourself, to those around you, and generosity, which is, such a huge thing in the work that Ruba does in the world, it becomes a natural outpouring of yourself, all people. I mean, it is astounding to see this. So I would say it's not quite true to say storytelling heals. I mean, storytelling is a technology, it is a tool. How it's wielded is very important. I mean, Goebbels was a storyteller. It's like how you use story can hurt or it can heal. We are, as human beings, all storytellers. We navigate the world through story. I mean, you have a story about yourself, where you come from, who you are, your identity. All of these are stories, that we make up, and then we live within them. And we create stories about others, we're constantly having opinions about what you're wearing. All of these things are a story. A lot of storytelling, the media is divisive. It's divisive storytelling. It's creating more us than narratives. And I yearn to see a world where we create stories that don't contribute to polarization, but that actually contribute to our common humanity and see collaboration and cooperation.